before the show, we were talking about the capacity to manufacture these products, and I was surprised to find out that, in fact, its manufacturing capacity is very limited.
Yeah, that is the case. It's one of those instances where demand is outstripping capacity. Right now, our products, the Somalia brands that we make, to get them to be shelf stable. Basically, there's only about 3 or 4 independent plants in the United States that actually can manufacture them, and all of them are running at pretty much a capacity because of the popularity of other type of milk-flavored drinks or milk-based type beverages like the Frappuccino, which is, as you know, it's a joint venture with Starbucks and Pepsi, and that right there is a big business for them. And the plants where those are made are run at full capacity. I mean, they literally run 72 hours, then have a downtime of about a couple hours, and then run them again. And so these are big installations that are not like bottlers for soft drink, which are literally a dime a dozen.
Now, is there any goals to take it from marketing only to Hispanics to, crossing that
Sure.
and marketing it to other? Because obviously the margarita is brand for more people than just Hispanic.
Exactly. And we feel that if that's going to happen, it's going to most likely happen in one of those markets that I described to you. It's no coincidence that out of those 5 markets that I mentioned to you, you have the largest 3 basically populated cities or metro areas in the United States: New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. So if any of our brands has a crossover ability, it's going to start from one of those locations in which it starts, because of the percentage of Hispanics in those areas. Those products will start to, or those flavors, if you will start to, mix with the other groups of people that are non-Hispanics.
Great. Well, at this point, we're going to take a quick break and go to the finest known facts, and we'll be back for the second half of our show in a few minutes.
Welcome back. When we went to break, we were talking to Fernando Leonzo from Presto Food and Beverage about Latin American foods being a growing market here in the United States. And I think that one of the major misconceptions that people have about Latin American food is that it's all the same.
Sure.
But in fact, you have the challenge of dealing with different types of likes and dislikes, different tastes for each particular country. Colombia is not the same as Mexico for what they like. And so how do you address that? How do you grow the market?
Well, when we were just speaking about how the Hispanic population is broken down, then you have to look at how they reside in those particular areas. What you do have, obviously, is the fact that the Mexican Hispanic population in the United States is 2/3 of the population. And most of those are residing from Texas to California. On the East Coast is a little bit different and a little bit more complex in the sense that from New York even down to here to South Florida, you have, it's a lot more mixture, and it's Caribbean based and of course Central American based and so forth. So what we have done is when we derived our brand, in particular the Somalia brand and its flavors, which are specifically geared, each flavor is geared towards a different segment of the Hispanic population. These were flavors that we actually focus grouped and we tested. That's how we profiled the type of flavors that we wanted. So in other words, it wasn't the flavor that I liked or the flavor that my partners liked. We had to literally focus group them, and then once we had a profile, we went ahead and manufactured the products towards those likes. And then from there, you brand individually. I mean, basically, when we first started, we had a product that was geared towards the Central American segment of the Hispanic population, which basically makes up only about 8 or 9% of the Hispanic population. From then on, recently when we launched our new line of flavors, we have the products that were geared towards the Mexican audience and of course the South American and the Caribbean market. And what we do is we actually go into understanding the different markets. For example, like in Houston, we obviously push the Mexican product in Houston because the demographics cater towards mostly Mexicans. In New York, we cater towards the flavors that we push more are geared towards like the Dominican and Puerto Rican markets. And then, of course, in the Mid-Atlantic, we push the Central American flavors. That's how we're able to get the brand recognition among the different groups. Similar, if I could use an example, similar to like what Nestle did many years ago down in Latin America, which is, Colombians in Colombia know Nestle as Nestle in their own eyes as far as how it was catered or branded to them, like the Mexicans know Nestle in Mexico, or for the Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico. And that's what we're doing with our brands. I mean, understanding that it's not, you have so many different nationalities spread over the different market areas. So we're very specific about how we target the different
What type of price points do you have for your products, and how did you ultimately arrive at that, coming up with those price points?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, depending on the product. I mean, obviously, we're in going back to our flagship brand, the Somaya brand, it's a milk-based product. So dairy, one of the advantages that we have is the fact that everybody recognizes that, prices have gone up. And so when they go into the supermarket and have to buy their fresh gallon of milk, they know that it's expensive. So when we brand our products as milk-flavored drinks in particular, they understand that they're not going to be able to buy it at, say, for example, like a soft drink or like the nectars and juices, because it's completely two separate categories of products. So what we do is we actually try to align, merchandise the products next to similar type products. So in other words, we'll put the Somayas next to the Nesquiks or the Hershey's chocolate milks or even the Frappuccinos. And those products, in comparison to ours, are a lot more expensive. So for a 12-ounce can, for example, we'll sell for about $1.39 on average, versus a similar milk product at $1.59 or $1.79 from Nestle or from Hershey's and so forth.
With all these subsets of flavors and groups that you're targeting, how evolved and complicated is the packaging?
Well, that, when we started the whole project, we knew that what you have is the dynamic as far as, you have a huge segment of the population growing, relatively new. And we're talking about, obviously, the Hispanic population. And then you have the manufacturers, if you will, with the technology to be able to produce these type of products, but not knowing the flavors. And of course, the people who knew the flavors didn't have access to the capacity to manufacture it. And what we have done is, in particular with our brand, with the Somaya brand, we actually have worked with the largest milk co-op in the United States. So using their resources of milk knowledge and packaging, because the same co-op packages for the Frappuccino lines that I mentioned, and they basically have a lock on that type of expertise. And then what we do is bring our knowledge of the nostalgic flavors after focus grouping and testing them and marry the two. And I mean, this is something that takes a while, obviously, but we have a system in place that we're able to bring out products a lot faster now.